Welcome to Relocate to Happiness podcast. In the studio today, I'm here with Melissa Gatt. We're going to have a conversation about happiness and motherhood. Melissa is from South Africa. She recently relocated to Ericeira, right, from Malta.
Uh-huh.
So she's a mother of 3 twins plus a little one, right?
Plus a 7-year-old, yes.
Oh, so the 7-year-old is like...
The first one, and then the twins are almost 4.
Oh,
yes.
That's cute. So welcome, Melissa.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking for accepting the invitation.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah, it's like a sunny day in Ericeira.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's not. Wow, last week it was horrible, right?
But I do feel like it was the only really horrible week that we've had. This winter to me has been absolute bliss, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, it's my first winter year. So if this is what winter is going to be like, I'm all for it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I know. I think for me it was like the worst winter till now.
I spoke to someone yesterday and they told me the same thing. I was like, well, if that is it, then I'm very, very happy.
I'm here forever, right?
Exactly. It can only get better from here.
Yeah. No, for me, like it was harsh, but I think it's a matter of how you're used to. So
yeah, exactly. Because I am used to in Malta, where we relocated from, It's very, very hot there during summer, like scorching hot. But then the winters are really, really cold just because the homes are not built for that type of weather. So you really feel cold while you are indoors. So I do feel a little bit warmer here.
But it's the same thing here, no? Like you don't feel
I don't think it is as bad because they build with limestone in Malta. So the walls are really porous. You feel like the coldness just goes through your bones. So I do feel like it's a little bit better here. And our house has insulation. So that might be
okay. But anyway, Malta, off the list. I'm like, never relocate.
Well, it's too hot or too cold. So you need to decide whether you like extremes or not.
You know, I was once there and I don't remember. I think it was like spring. So it was like perfect weather.
Yeah, that's actually the best time to go, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
So I went there like 2 days. And then actually I remember that I got stuck for the whole, a week after there was like the cloud from Iceland, the volcano that erupted. So then I couldn't fly back home.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
you
this is
ended
all
up
my
staying
memories from Malta.
Really? How long ago was that?
Like 10 years, like 2010, 11. I don't like.
Okay,
many,
so it's
many
quite a while. It's even before I moved there.
Yeah. And I remember one thing I remember was the fact they say that you cannot divorce, like in Malta.
I think when did that go into effect? I don't want to lie to you and say to you it was 2015 or it was quite recent that you cannot get divorced there and you couldn't get the morning after pill. So that's part of the Catholic belief. So I think those two both changed now, but it took a long time. So a lot of people were completely freaked out about it because there's a lot of foreigners living there, but it was just an absolute taboo. Like you don't get divorced and you don't use the morning after pill.
So there are a lot of expats living in Malta at the moment?
A lot.
They have also remember they have like the programs like to help right? Like
which I think is part of the problem. Because the thing is, it's one thing if it's a country and it's a big country and there's space for everyone, but this is an island and it's a tiny island. Mm-hmm. So right now, the country is bursting at its seams. Mm-hmm. It's very, very, very densely populated, which is part of the reason why we left, because we like open spaces. We like to live in a house and not an apartment. And it was becoming too small for us. My husband is Maltese. So the thing is, he thinks of Malta as it was back in the day. And I mean, I think of my country as it was back in the day. But I mean, as time passes, things change. And it's just not the same anymore. So we came to Portugal and we just fell in love. Like it was everything that we wanted. It ticked the boxes. So we feel very at home here. We just need to start learning the language.
So ticking the boxes, tell me more. Like tell me more about Portugal. What do you like the most?
So before we moved to Malta, we lived in Spain for 2 years and we were really in love with Spain. We loved Spain. But there was something missing in Spain. I couldn't put my finger on it. I don't know what it was, but something was missing. But I did love it. So all this time that we lived in Malta, which was 10 years, we try to find that one country that we want to move to. My husband was dead set on, just sailing around the world. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted
I want to meet him.
all 5 of us need to get onto a sailing boat and just circumnavigate. And I just kept telling him, like, how do you want to work? Because we have to entertain these kids. How do you want to school them? Because I am definitely not going to homeschool them. So I think I kind of like crushed his dream a bit. And then my parents moved to Portugal, and they moved here in 2022. And we came to visit them in December of 2022. And they live in Peniche. Mm-hmm. So I think we spent after the first 2 days of being here, I started telling my husband, I really like it here. I really, really like it here. And he was like, I like it here as well. But it was peak winter then as well. So we asked my parents the one night, please look after the kids. Can we go to Ericeira? And they were like, why do you want to go to Ericeira? And I remember I was probably 12 years old. And we had this magazine in South Africa called Saltwater Girl. Ooh. And I was obsessed with this magazine, and I just always heard about Ericeira, and I wanted to go and see what it was like. And we came here for 12 hours. We slept over for the night, and we just spent 12 hours in Ericeira, and we were like, okay, that's it. We're moving. We were so in love with it. And I think the thing that was missing from Spain that we got here was the Atlantic Ocean. I like a lively...
The cold. Do you like the cold water?
I like the cold. I like the roughness. I like the breeze. I like the sound. And that's.
Are you a surfer? Let me.
I'm not. But it's because it reminds me of home. So that feeling, like when you can sit in your house and you can actually hear the waves.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's what I love. In the Mediterranean, it felt to me like, don't get me wrong, the Mediterranean is amazing, especially if you actually want to spend the day in the water. But it didn't give me that calming feeling of what the ocean can give you, not the sea. But
it can be some days are like super rough actually.
For me,
so instead of like calming me down, I think for me it's like sometimes like it agitates me more. So it
almost causes you anxiousness.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
It happens. Maybe because I'm also like I live near Guincho Beach, which is also very, very, strong.
It might be. But yeah. I feel like I thrive off that. To me, it's very calming. So that was definitely, and also I feel like the people here are a little bit more laid back, which is what I like, because I'm from Cape Town, and Cape Town is known as like, the very laid back city. So I did feel like there was a lot of similarities here, and then obviously the nature as well, because that's something that you cannot compare. In Malta, there's no nature really. Like if you want to go out in nature, you will have to go out on your boat and be on the water, because you don't have greenery there. It's very barren, which a lot of the Mediterranean looks like as well, So for me, I was after the greenery as well.
Mm-hmm. So I have 2 questions to ask you. You just mentioned no homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
And the second question is also related to home, but where is home for you?
That's a very good question. I ask myself that every single day. I would say right here is home now. If you had to ask me when I lived in Malta, I would say South Africa. For me, it was South Africa. And I do think forever it would be in my heart, South Africa, but in my mind, I'm okay with saying that it's here. I do think that I still need to integrate a lot here. For it to start feeling like it's proper home, like learning the language and finding a community and support system. So I want to make this my home, if that's the best way I can say it. But in my heart, I do think that home will probably always be South Africa.
I know. I say no more. Yeah. I have the same thing. So I'm originally from Romania. Mm-hmm. Then I lived like many years in Israel. Then we moved to Spain. Oh. I hated it, by the way.
Oh, really?
I won't get into details. We're like 1 year and a half, the disaster of my life.
Oh, no.
And and then we just moved here like 5 years ago.
5 years, okay.
But I'm struggling. Like if you ask, you know what? I once told a friend of mine, I was like, I'm homesick. And she was like, homesick? What do you mean? Where's home for you? what do you mean homesick? Like, is it Israel? Is it Romania?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh yeah, just, I miss my family and I miss my friends and
Familiarity as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like for you it is Romania?
It's a very hard question. So it is Romania because of my family, but I do feel like Israel is also like a very, very, I have like very strong roots there, and I feel like home every time I go there.
Okay.
I'm loving it. Yeah. And I'm working on, I do speak the language and I do have
that helps.
But I think there's still a long way till I make it home.
Yeah. I think as expats, you will probably forever struggle with that feeling. I don't know if it's a feeling that goes away. I have yet to meet someone that would actually tell me, like, no, I've completely forgotten about where I grew up and this is my new home. But I do think you always have that thing that makes you long back for the country that you grew up in.
Yeah, exactly.
It depends as well how you left, how you left that country. Because I do know of people who left South Africa feeling very bitter just because of the political situation and the crime and whatnot. So they feel so bitter that by the time that they leave, they don't ever want to return. Whereas I left and I didn't really want to leave, or I left with the intention of going back and I never went back. So it depends on how you leave, I think, as well.
Yeah, and what you live there. So
exactly.
So what do you miss from home?
What do I miss from home? I miss the culture a lot. I miss the culture. I miss African culture a lot.
How is African culture?
So I know they do it in other countries as well, but so we call it braai, and braai.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It's not just an activity, it's a way of life. Like, they literally start the day by just lighting the fire, and you stand around the fire all day and music is playing, and it's hard to explain. Like, I do feel like the Portuguese also kind of like that, to be honest with you, but that's one of the things I miss. I miss the people a lot. I miss the friendliness of the African people and how they can joke, and there's a lot of things. And then obviously the nature as well. The nature I miss a lot. I do feel like the nature there is not something that you really get anywhere else because of the incredible mountains and the wildlife. The wildlife is a big part of it as well. And the vineyards, and there's a lot.
I think Cape Town for me was one of the most beautiful cities I have ever been.
You have been there?
Yeah. And also like nature.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So we landed like in Johannesburg, and then we went to Kruger Park, I think. So we did a safari for a week or something, and then we went to Cape Town, and I remember it was just insane. And like seeing the penguins and all this.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the type of things that I feel like I don't know where you. I mean, in Europe, you're not going to see that type of wildlife,
Yeah.
So I do miss that a lot. And I don't feel like that's anything that you can't replace it, So that is one of the things I miss a lot.
So how often do you go home? Like, or is there when was the last time you've been there?
So I used to go back home once a year until we got kids. And then
Same here. Yeah. I know what you mean.
It's really not easy. So I had my first daughter in 2017, and then we went back to Cape Town in 2018. And then because she got to the age where it was a little bit difficult flying with her, we decided, okay, 2019, we're going to skip. And then 2020, we'll go. And then obviously 2020, we didn't go.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had the twins at the end of 2020. And
Surprise!
then I was like, I'm not going to fly with 3 kids, because that's going to be really tough. I mean, flying there, you are looking at minimum 24 hours.
Really? Why is that?
From Malta.
From Malta.
Yeah,
okay,
from
but
Malta.
from here is easier, no?
Much easier from here.
Like you have direct flights, right?
Malta, there was always a stopover either in, Dubai or in Turkey. So it makes the traveling very difficult, with 3 small kids.
Yeah.
So
Say no more. I know what you mean.
Exactly. So then when we moved to Portugal, I couldn't drive with my driver's license. I had to get it converted, and my driver's license from South Africa expired. So I was like, oh, damn, I'm going to have to go to South Africa. and I have to go alone. And obviously,
it's not so bad, you know.
No, I'm being very sarcastic. I was super excited. So in December that passed, I went to South Africa for the first time in 5 years. So it was a massive reunion and it was really nice being back. But I do feel like that kind of just opened the wound again. Like now,
definitely.
I almost got used to not going back. So now I feel like it's fresh in my mind again and I want to go back often. But I will wait maybe another year at least before I travel with the whole family because...
They have never been?
Well, my eldest daughter has been, but the twins no. So, and
they
the
will
thing
have some fun.
Exactly. And I do feel like, you know, I'm their mother. They need to know the background story of their mother as well. So I do want to take them, but I'm just not ready to fly with them yet. Especially my boy, one of the twins, because he is all over the show. So I just want him to calm down a little bit more.
You will see him, you know, like with the captain in the cockpit.
Exactly.
Like, oh, yeah, we're landing, guys. We're landing this plane. Yeah.
Exactly. That's literally how it will be. So I'm just going to wait a little bit before we go. But I'm excited to go back.
I was thinking now you were talking and I was thinking what to ask you next. Because actually... what I have, like, before I start, like, the talking to my guests, I have, like, 3 questions. I have, like, questions about questions, like the importance of questions.
Okay.
And I forgot to ask you, but we can go back. But you also mentioned some things about the motherhood, so I'm, like, torn apart. Let's go first with the question. Like, I have 3 questions. Of course, if you want to answer, feel free to tell me what you think.
Okay.
Question number 1. What was, you know, talking about motherhood, right?
Yeah.
And flights and everything. What was the most meaningful question that you ever asked yourself?
I really have to think about this because it really makes you think deep, like, you know, what question was the best question that you've ever been asked? And I do feel like it's very fitting with today's podcast is probably, are you happy? Because that's like, I think that's a question that people don't ask each other very often. They would ask you, are you okay? Or how are you doing today? But no one ever asks you, like, are you actually happy? And I feel like that's the most important thing in life. There's nothing more important than being happy. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor or healthy or not healthy, where you live, nothing. It just depends on if you are happy. I mean, even if you had to ask me what's the one thing that I wish for my kids, the number one thing I wish for my kids as well is to be happy one day. So the fact that a couple of people have asked me that before, but that is definitely the most meaningful question I think I've ever been asked. It's just, are you happy?
Beautiful. I love it. What can I say? I'm happy with it. So are you happy?
Obviously, I'm also just human. So there's some days where I'm not happy and there's days when I am very happy. So it can go like this as well. But I do think that's part of being human and you have to work on it as well. But right now, I think I'm pretty content.
Interesting. You were saying that because I talked yesterday about contentment and it's like the difference between happiness and contentment. Okay, question number 2. One question that you ask yourself and, you know, it created like a breakthrough, something that, you know, was very strong for you.
I think that would probably be, who do I want to be? Who do I see myself as? You know, what do I want to be in my life? I think it's a very important question that you should ask yourself and that you don't just carry on with life the way that it is. You have to ask difficult questions to yourself and ask, like, what is it that you want out of your life? Who do you want to be? Are you too worried about, you know, the external noise and not really caring about what it is, who you are? So I think the most important question I've asked myself is, who do you actually want to be? And then if you give your answer, what are you going to do to actually get there? Yeah. So, and I mean, that's only a question I've asked myself quite recently, because you can get quite lost in motherhood as well and just going from day to day to try and survive, you know? So it is very important that you also just check in with yourself and, you know,
super important.
Yeah. So I think that's probably one of the most important
I'm writing down everything, like all the answers. I'm like cheat sheets. Last questions about questions. What was one question that you wanted to, that you were never asked, but you wanted to? I'm losing my voice. I'm so excited.
I think probably what was holding you back from reaching your deepest desires and what you want to be. I think that's a very important question that someone can also ask you, because it makes you dig very deep and, try and find the reasons why certain things are holding you back. Can it be because you are worried about what people might think of you, or how you might be portrayed? I think that is a question that would be good to be asked. But I haven't been asked it before.
No, until now.
Yes.
Yeah. Happiness and motherhood. So what is happiness for you? Let's start with that.
I think coming back to being content is, if I feel content and I'm happy, I'm content with my life, that makes me happy. That makes me happy. And obviously, okay, when you have to ask that within motherhood.
So maybe, you know what, I'm taking it out. Sorry. No, I'm taking the part, like I'm taking the motherhood out, and I will
just focusing
on happiness. Yeah.
For me, it's definitely about just being content, happy to be where I am in life. I'm always very happy if I can travel. I'm always very happy if I have a coffee.
Same here.
I do feel like the simple things in life make me very happy. I'm not the type of person who I don't want a lot out of life, which is part of the reason actually why we moved here as well, is because I was after a more simple life and not, chasing, all the materialistic things and just, climbing up the ladder. That's not what I'm about. So I'm very much into the simple things in life, and that makes me very happy. I know traveling can be very expensive, but that is my thing.
Like how do you say, the sweet spot?
Yeah, that's my sweet spot for sure.
Yeah, same here. We have a lot in common. We have the twins,
like
we have the traveling. Yeah. The twins are like, we're gonna be reunited for life. It's just like,
yeah. How old are your twins?
They turn 8 already.
8, okay.
Yeah.
They double the age.
They're yeah. Mm-hmm. So I can give you some tips.
Please tell me it gets easier.
To tell you what?
Does it get easier?
It gets easier, but like mine are like in the preteen.
Yeah.
She's like, you know what? I prefer the changing the diapers, I think, part. Like, it's just like it gets,
really?
We have like the saying, like small kids, small problems, and big kids, big problems. It's true. But no, it gets fun. You can talk to them, you can teach them. I think it's like we have like a huge privilege to teach them about world. Like imagine like you have this little creature, and actually you show him the world, you explain him about the world, and you have such a strong role in his life, the way like.
But that's also terrifying to me.
Of course, but like every good thing.
Exactly. It's and also like you mentioned now, I mean, you have problems then, but you also have problems when they are younger. Every single stage has its great things and very, very challenging things as well. So, and I've learned that now as I've, gone through my time of motherhood. I think the thing about where I am right now is my kids still really need me, and I need to keep my eyes on them, because otherwise they can hurt themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the part I'm just looking forward to, just ease up on a bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's like, but no, it does get easier from that point of view.
Yeah, exactly. But then they become teenagers, and then they can really hurt themselves again.
Exactly, which is like, I think, it's definitely much more dangerous than like going at home and like, bumping.
Exactly.
But you know what? I remember that you meant like one of the videos that you shared on Instagram. It was about like you wanted to be like putting the very high bar, trying to be Mother Teresa and try. I don't know. You like Mother Earth. You're the
Earth Mother.
The Earth Mother. I laughed out like when I laughed out loud when I heard that. Like it was
that's
so
literally
funny.
what I wanted to be. Like I envisioned myself as being like this. I don't even know if I can say hippie, but like everything just the best and organic and natural. And I was like that with my first. When it came to the twins, I was like, it's definitely not going to happen. But with my first, yes, for sure. And I stuck to that at least for the first 2 years after she was born. And it was absolutely draining. It was
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, so what is the price that you're paying for really putting that bar so high and trying to be perfect?
I feel like I probably, if I didn't do it like that, I would have enjoyed the first 2 years more, because I ended up just worrying the whole time about like doing everything perfectly. And obviously there's no way of doing everything perfectly. And I don't know why. And I feel like a lot of first time mothers are like this. Your kid is not made out of porcelain, you know. Nothing is going to happen to them. Why are you so concerned with, you know, the ingredients of the washing detergent and the stuff that you clean the house with? And I get it. Those things are
important.
It's important. But if you are going to break your head about every single detail, you cannot be perfect with everything. I mean, like I said, I didn't even want them to have plastic toys. It had to be wooden toys, natural cotton and linen. It just went on and on. I had to breastfeed her until she was 3. Like it was insane. And if I couldn't do it that way, then I would beat myself up. And the thing is, I completely lost myself within the process as well.
Exactly what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I completely lost myself because I was so focused on just being and giving her the best that there was no time to look after myself. Like I just completely lost myself. So I wouldn't do it like that ever again. And I would definitely advise other mothers to just don't be so hard on yourself.
I get it. You know, when you were talking, I was thinking about the house is like perfect. Everything is, you know, all the toys are perfect. Everything is okay. But you are super frustrated, super, I don't know, like overwhelmed and sad. And I remember, I think that I got like a lot of, I mean, we all get a lot of advice before you get married, not married. Okay.
Before you have kids,
before we get the kids. And I got a lot of advice, and, you know, from the which stroller to buy and so everything. But one advice that I remember was like a friend of mine, she told me, you know, just get as much help as you can, because nobody will give you any trophy for being like an exhausted, frustrated mom. Yeah. Nobody ever will tell you, you know, like, oh yeah, you're great, like you haven't slept like in a week, you look like shit, your husband wants to leave you and everything, but then like you get like you get this trophy of being like the victim. It's like the idea is to be like a hero, not to be a victim, and to enjoy the motherhood.
But could you do that though?
Back then, oh my God.
I could not do it. I think it might have been a little bit different for you because the twins your only kids? Yeah. So having twins first time around, I think that must be very overwhelming, you know, because like I had a child before, so I kind of knew more or less what to expect just having a double the second time. Yeah. But it must have been really overwhelming for you. But I didn't want to get any help because I wanted to be a hero, and it didn't matter what you told me. I wanted, because that was part of the list of things that I had to be in control of everything. Yes. Like not to trust somebody else to be with your kids. Yeah. I mean, it's not like I was even like, oh, this is, you know, like some mothers don't want someone else to pick up their child. I wasn't like that. I just wanted to be the hero. I think like same counts for, I wanted to have a natural unmedicated water birth. So that's the also with the twins? No. In Malta, you're not allowed. Oh, of course. Okay. I mean, not of course, but you can. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, if I could, I probably would have. But in Malta, you're not allowed. You have to get a cesarean. Okay. Okay. Good to know. Okay. Sorry. Go. So how did you give birth? For my first, I booked a private hospital. Because in the public hospital you can't do water birth. So I booked into the private hospital. I ended up not even giving a water birth because everything happened very, very fast. I ended up getting induction. Mm-hmm. And then with the twins, I had a cesarean, which that was incredibly traumatizing for me. The cesarean was, I think, because I had natural birth the first time around. And you know the difference? The cesarean was very traumatic for me. It wasn't the same. And the thing is, I know a lot of people have very, very positive experiences with cesarean, which I'm so happy that they did. But for me, it was very traumatizing. I really didn't like it. But also because I had a couple of complications afterwards as well.
Same here, yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, that I think that really adds to it. And our boy was also taken into the NICU for a week. So I think there was just a lot of stuff that was that added to the experience that wasn't too great for me.
So I had a C-section, emergency C-section.
Oh,
also.
emergency.
Yeah, with 8 people in the emergency room. I think traumatizing is like how to say, it's not a strong enough word for it.
Yeah.
It was really bad. And then they took away the kids from me. And my kids were like, so one of them was for 3 weeks.
Really?
And the other one for a month and a half. And I got one at home. Actually,
Yeah.
like they released her home and one at the hospital. So it was like for almost a month, I was like between hospital and home.
Yeah, that's awful.
So yeah, it wasn't
The
easy.
thing is, when you have a cesarean, to have to make that trip to the hospital back and forth
yeah,
as well.
I didn't even I was like I was still in the hospital when I was healing, like on the first week.
Yeah.
With them.
No, I must say that is it's tough. It's tough, especially when you have twins, because then you have to divide your time between them as well. And how many weeks were you when you gave birth to them?
33.
Oh, so it was early.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had like preeclampsia and I was like in bed rest like since week 23.
Really?
Like 1 month hospitalized, 1 month at home, and then another 1 month at the hospital. Like high
Are they fraternal?
Or
they're
they're like no, they're not identical. Like two different placentas.
Okay,
like
okay.
fraternal. Yeah.
Oh, because I do know that identical twins usually they are born quite prematurely.
Mm-hmm.
That's why and obviously there's a lot of complications as well because it's a riskier.
Yeah, I was on high risk. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my word!
Yesterday my girls came they came home from school, and they were like, "Mommy, we had like they have something called enrichment."
Mm-hmm.
So like, mommy, they told me that we are identical. Like this teacher said that we're identical. And we're not identical. Like you cannot see that we're not identical. Like
Do they look quite similar?
They look very similar,
Okay.
but I think they're very different. But they like people, they just mixed. Not the kids already, but I think the teachers. It's like, so we have 2 identical twins. They're like, we're not identical. So we talked about it. We laughed about it yesterday. Yeah.
People sometimes ask me if my twins are identical, but I've got a boy and a girl, so I'm like, no, they're not.
Oh my God, that's silly.
No, have you never gotten like really strange questions like for twins? And then I'm like, did you really think about that question? I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay. So tell me questions that you were asked about twins.
Oh, I have to think about it now. But that one is definitely, that one is like on top of the
3
list because I mean, how can they be identical?
That's funny. It's like a boy and a girl. Are they identical?
Yeah.
Oh my God, no.
I have to think about it and then get back to you about the others.
But like for me, wait, I have one. Tell me, do you have like twins in your family? Who?
Yes, that one.
From the mother side or from the father side, or who did that? Or I'm like, like the same questions over and over again.
And
like,
the thing is, I'm so tired of answering it because we don't know. I don't know where the twins came from, okay? Like, I didn't know that this was going to happen to me. I really thought that when the doctor did the ultrasound, he was just shitting us. Like, I really didn't think that this was real because I didn't think that it was in the family. And then, apparently, it also can only come from the mother's side.
Really?
Apparently, yes. Because then my husband's, my mother-in-law, she started saying, oh, but my sister has, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, but apparently it can't come from your side. It has to come from my side. If you read up about it, it's
sure?
actually, I'm 1,000% sure.
It's an interesting thing. Okay.
I did not know this. And then I've got a friend who also has twins, the one that does the podcast with me. And she was like, Melissa, this is 1,000%. It only comes from the mother. And I'm like, okay, well, then I really don't know. Like, who can this be from? Because it also can't be from my dad's side. It's from my mom's side. So it goes down the line of just passing through the mothers. And I don't know who it can be from. So,
I had no idea, but I'm taking again notes.
Yeah.
You mentioned the doctor thing. So I remember when like, so yeah, it's just like 1 heartbeat and then here's another one. And we were like, what? Because I knew that I was pregnant and I thought I had like 1 baby. And then I will never forget that they were like, wait, here's 1 heartbeat and this isn't. And I always, tell my little one how I call her. It's like, you are the surprise of my life.
Yeah.
Just like.
But do you know which one it is?
I know, because like one was small, so it was one that was bigger, and I think one smaller. So the one smaller just developed later. And I
That's
don't
actually
know.
so nice that you know that. I wouldn't know
I just
which
made
one.
it up. I think I didn't like. This is what we thought, because she was like smaller.
Smaller. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, how did you feel when you found out, though? Like, what was your feeling?
I remember. No, we were like shocked, like we were staring at each other. It was overwhelming, and I remember calling my mom, and I was like, oh my God, I have twins, and it was very like she was like, oh, like it was like really like
because she knew what you were gonna get yourself into.
Yeah. And wait a second. So my sister actually had also like twins, but one of them like didn't develop. I remember her calling me, and because she found out she was pregnant, well, she was like for a visit in Tel Aviv, and then she went back. She was back then in Holland, and then she was like, she called me and like, like I was like going, I couldn't believe, but just it didn't happen at the end.
But you felt like you were like happy. Did you want to have 2 kids at the end of the day?
I did want to, but I think it was more overwhelming than happiness. It was, but I saw your video about like when you were in. You mentioned something when you said I was in the car, like after you pick up the kids or after you found out. It's like I was not. It was not a feeling of happy after you found out, and you said like it was not a feeling of happiness.
No, not at all. And I mean, I'm not afraid to say that, because I was really not. We already had our first child, and she was quite a handful. She was just always, I think, a little bit, I don't want to say difficult, because she's not difficult. She's just a child. Yeah, challenging. That's the right word. Like we struggled with her sleep and stuff like that. And she's very hard-headed. And so I just had this thing in my head, like, oh, okay, all kids are like this. And how am I going to do this with 3 of them? It completely freaked me out. And so after we found out, we left the hospital, we got into the car, and I just sat in the car and I just started crying. And Shem, I think my husband really also felt very overwhelmed, but he obviously couldn't show it because he had to, be strong for me.
Yeah.
But I was just completely losing it. Like, he actually ended up going on his phone looking for podcasts of women who had 1 child and then expecting twins. And he's like, okay, so listen, like, here's podcasts. Like, listen, while we drive back home, listen, they're all okay. Like, they're okay.
They made it. They're like still alive. Yeah.
And I just couldn't wrap my head around it. It was just too much for me. And the pregnancy was also
different.
Oh my goodness. It was like night and day. It was, you obviously know what a pregnancy feels like with twins. But then if I have to compare again what it felt like with the first one, like being pregnant with twins is quite intense. It's not easy.
Really?
Yeah. The fatigue. It's the fatigue. I never struggled with anything like, nausea or actually feeling sick. Did you?
Of course. I didn't eat anything for 3 months. No, with the twins. Like, so I didn't have like the first 3 months. I was not eating. I couldn't feel like I couldn't smell anything around me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy that I was never like that. But I was incredibly tired. I was so drained. And I'm not the type of person that lies down for a nap during the day. I would not do it. I can't do it. And with the twins, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to go and do it. I felt like the pregnancy was quite intense.
The same here.
Yeah.
I got like food poisoning also.
Really?
Yeah, I was.
You didn't have a very good pregnancy.
No. So listen. So the first 3 months, like the first trimester, which is like supposed to be difficult, it was difficult. Okay, so I get it. And then like I was blossoming on the second trimester, kind of like I was doing my MBA, so I went to school and I was like. And in my mind, I was really thinking, like I was imagining that I will give birth while having a presentation in my 9th month, and then I was like 6 months already like in the hospital.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the second trimester was fine and I was going to school and I had breakfast at university. Now, nobody except for me, like none of the colleagues or professor or anybody else had any problems with the food except for me. I just started throwing up, and then my husband was like, "Oh, you're pregnant. It's okay." I was like, "No, it's not okay. Like I'm
especially then.
Exactly. Like I'm week 20 something. I'm like, I shouldn't do. It shouldn't happen. Listen, I just like ended up like we went to, and I told him I'm going to not to the hospital, to a clinic. Something is wrong. They made a blood test. I was like it was like they found like how do you call it? Infection.
Yeah.
And then like they just sent me to another hospital because like my fever was going up, and then they were like, listeria. They were like, I was suspect of listeria, so they put me like in quarantine in a room by myself, and they were like bringing me breakfast and putting me on penicillin. Like it was really bad. I was like 2 days, life and death.
But listeria is quite intense.
Yeah, I would have to like stop the pregnancy, but I didn't get it. It was not that, so I had to
it
wait.
wasn't. Okay.
No. It was like food poisoning. I don't know, like maybe eggs, something, something.
Yeah, you never know if it's not cooked properly. Then that can happen.
Something was bad.
Oh
and
my
it was like,
word! Your pregnancy was quite intense.
Yeah. No, I said like I will write a book about it one day, but I'm just like, but talking about books.
Yeah.
99 mistakes that I've did as a mom, and how you can avoid it. Like help me out with the research. One mistake that you did as a mom. I mean, one mistake.
There's obviously it's never ending, but the biggest mistake I think I've made, to come back to what we spoke about before, is probably to not put too much pressure on yourself. Because if I think back, that was probably the biggest mistake that I made, just because I would have been able to actually have a more positive experience. So just to not put as much pressure on yourself. Yeah, and to just give yourself a bit of grace.
I get it. But do you think it's like there is a pressure from the society, to put like, to kind of like put the motherhood on the first, and to prioritize the motherhood, and then like to put ourselves like on the second place?
I think it was always like that, but I think people are starting to talk about it a bit more, I think there was always this stigma, but now people are starting to say, if you're not going to take care of yourself, then you're not going to be a good mother. And I am 1000% behind that, because if I don't take care of myself, I am horrible to be around. I mean, even for my husband, I feel so sorry for him. But if I don't take care of myself, I really become very just unhappy. You have to look after yourself. So I think it's very important that you do that. I do think that in the past it was always, motherhood is the number one thing, which it is, but you have to look after yourself as well in order to be a good mother.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I'm like all for self-care and,
Yeah, 1000%. I mean,
how do you... It took me some while to understand. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it does take you a few years into motherhood to actually get to a point where you accept that. I've only started thinking that way after I had the twins. So that is 3 years ago. Before that, it was just being a mother. Because for me, I always had this idea in my head, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. I want to be there for them. I want to be around if anything happens. I want to be present. But I lost myself within it as well, and I ended up realizing, like, you're going to have to look after yourself. It's okay if the kids go to daycare before they actually have to go to compulsory school. Take them to daycare. Look after yourself. Do something where you can earn a little bit of income, Just do something that's going to make you happy, and to look after yourself as well. Eat properly. Exercise. Do stuff that makes you feel good.
Yeah, but this is like also like, I have the club, the moms that want it all. Mm-hmm. And I always say, the moms that also like they want a career and they want to be with the kids and they want to eat healthy and drink water and be like social. So it's a lot. So they like the problem is like, again, which price are we paying for giving wanting so much and not giving ourselves, some credit. And, sometimes it's okay just to take a break and not to do everything and to take all the stuff.
Definitely, you have to have a balance. There needs to be a balance. And you also, like you said earlier, you have to accept help, If you're not going to accept help, you are going to have too much on your plate and you're not going to be able to fulfill all of that. And you don't need to go and exercise every single day. And some days you can eat a bit shitty, like just have a balance,
I agree.
Yeah. So I do think that the most important thing is definitely to have a balance, and that way you will feel happy most of the time.
I get it.
Yeah.
And talking about balance, like, what do you think that the moms that like the stay-at-home mom, they have like a bigger balance than the ones that like the one that they're actually trying to, also to get the career and also to have the kids? How does it go?
Not necessarily. I don't think that the stay-at-home moms have it better than the moms who are working. I feel like it's a very individual thing as well. It depends on who you are and what you want out of your life as well. So I don't think that the one job description is easier than the other.
The other one, yeah.
I do think that it probably comes back to just having a good balance, and also recognizing what it is that you want as a person. So if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, by all means, go for it, do it. Like, if that makes you happy, that's great. If you feel unfulfilled by only doing that, then get yourself a part-time job and, I think balance is key with everything in life, to be honest.
Yeah. Who am I to contradict you on this one? But I want to ask you something else about you. You mentioned doing going back to work and doing all this stuff. So let's talk Instagram, and you're like an influencer yourself. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think about social media and Instagram and portraying the perfect mom and the motherhood? And does it actually? I mean, there is research that actually our levels of happiness are declining. Because of all the social media and everything. Mm-hmm. So, what do you think? I don't know how to put the question, but
I get what you mean. I did that since 2018. Not on purpose. I just started, posting some photos of food and stuff because I was really into cooking back in the day, and especially because I was a new mom then. I was at home and I was cooking. So that's what I ended up doing. And a lot of people kept telling me, we want to see the face behind the food. So I started blogging a little bit more about the family life and whatnot. And then it gradually picked up over the years. And I ended up realizing okay, wow, I can actually, do this as a job. Malta is very small as well, so word travels. If someone wants to work with you, they've probably heard about you from someone else, and that's just how it goes on. So I ended up, I feel like I ended up feeling quite comfortable in how much I earned back there, and it was great. But I did definitely fall into the trap of needing everything to look and be perfect. I ended up falling into the trap where I didn't feel like I was true to myself most of the time, which is my own fault. You don't have to be like that. I ended up feeling like that because I just ended up wanting to portray. I think everyone wants to seem like they've got their shit together.
Exactly. Yeah. They don't put the days when you haven't slept and you're
exactly.
When the kid has a tantrum, you don't post that.
No. Or if I fight with my husband, hey, let me just quickly fight with you while I record myself. There's certain things that you're not going to want to put online. So you end up posting this picture perfect life. I ended up getting a lot of people wanting to work with me purely for my kids, so they want to sponsor me with stuff for the kids. And I did that. And then I got to a point after a while where I was like, I feel uncomfortable with this. I don't feel like I'm comfortable doing this, where I had to reevaluate what type of jobs I took, and what brands I worked with. So I would say probably 2 years ago, I started really cutting down on a lot of the jobs that I did because I just felt like it was going to be very contradicting. I didn't want to do stuff that wasn't true to me. Mm-hmm. But I also did get to a point where I was not feeling the joy that I should from doing that job. And I think it's also because you constantly need to show up. I'm not an extrovert.
Wow, that's difficult.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like I'm like an introverted extrovert, if that makes sense. Once I get to know you,
I feel comfortable. Exactly.
Yes, then I can chat away and I won't stop. But having to show up every single day, because you have to show up every single day. If you don't,
consistency is key.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that, they call it feed the beast. So if you don't feed the beast,
you're out. The algorithm takes you out.
Exactly. So every single day, I felt like I had to show up. I had to look perfect because I don't want to look, like I don't take care of myself. You're competing against other people, against other jobs. It was just, it became too much. The mental load became too much. So yeah, I definitely think that can make your happiness decline a lot. And I got to a point where when we decided to move here, I just thought to myself, it feels nice to kind of just cut the cord and be like, okay, I'm done with this now. And if I ever do decide to kind of pick it up again, it will be on my terms and the way that I want to do it, because I did get dragged into a lot of job opportunities that I think was probably not exactly who I was. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
You were talking, and I was thinking about. So we talk about kids and Instagram. So we talked from the beginning. We won't put the kids on Instagram. We won't put their faces. We were having like high profiles, like social media. I was like, okay, I'm not going to do it. And I have like a private account on Instagram for them.
Oh yeah.
So I just allow people to, they have like 50 or 60 followers. Only the one that I know, the people. But then one day, for like 3 years ago, I think, for their birthday, I posted a video of them. But like, since they were babies, or like since they were 1 year old, like 2 years old in Spain, so they don't look alike anymore.
Exactly,
I'm super like stressed with this thing, like not to put location, not to show the kids and whatever. Anyway, I put the video on TikTok, and the video went viral. So then like, from not showing your kids on social media to 1.5 million views on overnight, like on TikTok. And then, so I had to give like the rights of the videos. I have like an agency in Los Angeles that they're like managing it, everything. And then they were like on a show in Japan, and they wanted to come to shoot them at home. And my husband's like, no, they're not coming. Like
You are joking.
I'm not joking at all. But yeah, so now they're like, they want to do like a YouTube channel of and I'm like, what? They're 8. And I'm really wondering, like, should I actually let them do that? They're, of course, they watch like YouTube shorts. They love it. They still the profile is still private. They asked me to make it public. I didn't do it yet.
They want to.
Yeah, and they wanted to have like a YouTube channel. So I'm like,
parenting nowadays is tough. It's tough. I mean, just now hearing what you are saying, I showed my kids' faces for many years. I feel like the penny only dropped last year, I would say, in the middle of the year. I started feeling very uneasy about it. I think there was a lot of the AI stuff that came out as well. And that kind of freaked me out. And then I started watching like a lot of videos where they would literally show like how, old men would look at the videos and stuff. And that made me so uneasy. And I just thought to myself, why do I get so many views when my kids are in the videos, but then when it's just me, it drops drastically? And I was like, I'm not comfortable with this. So now I have the option where I only let close friends see the kids on my profile, and the rest is, sorry, you're not going to see them. But then hearing what you are saying now about the kids wanting to start a YouTube channel, I think that's obviously that's for the parent to decide, whether you are comfortable with it or not. My daughter is asking me every single day, and I'm like,
the same thing?
Yes, she's almost 7, so they are kind of
maybe
close.
We should get them together.
Yes, exactly.
And do a partnership.
But you know what I would do? I told her, go ahead. I just won't put it on YouTube. You can record as much as you want.
Exactly, but don't put,
you can look at it, but you're not going to, like, I even let her edit on Canva. So she loves editing on Canva, but she's not allowed to post anything. Like, my husband even said to me before, he's like, oh, just let her do it. And I'm like, sorry, no, won't.
They made a profile of my dog also.
Really?
So, yes. Like, they're all like, I have like 6 profiles or like Instagram things there. So
all the family members.
And at the end of the day, who will have to manage the podcast? Not the podcast, the channel, like the YouTube channel. I will have to.
You're gonna become like the Kris Jenner.
Exactly, like the mom entrepreneur. How do you call that?
Yeah, momtrepreneur.
Momtrepreneur, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So okay. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. It was really nice here. I mean, I feel like I had a nice chat with a friend here today, so it was great being here.
The same for me, and I hope that we can do like more. I have like I had a list of questions. I didn't ask you anything,
I feel like we covered the most important things.
Exactly. Yeah. We did. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And let's
cut.